There is a widespread assumption about the digital economy that the modern creator ecosystem consists entirely of massive, hyper-successful outliers on one end and completely stagnant beginners on the other. But if you look past the few massive nodes capturing the most attention, the underlying architecture of the platform reveals a completely different topology. Operating entirely out of the spotlight is a thriving, highly active middle layer. There are thousands of channels reliably generating between $50,000 and $300,000 annually, operating completely under the radar. To map how these creators consistently extract revenue from the network, we are going to use an analytical proxy, a simulated agent, to navigate the exact pathways they use to secure distribution. This middle tier does not survive by playing the lottery of viral reach. They survive by treating the platform not as an audience, but as a mathematical system with rigid rules that can be actively exploited. The recommendation engine is frequently described as an unpredictable mystery. In reality, it operates as a strict, deterministic filter. It measures exact inputs and delivers specific outputs based on those measurements. The creators who engineer their way into the middle class optimize their operations around 8 specific, measurable parameters. These 8 variables govern the entire lifespan of a piece of media, from its initial sampling to its long-term categorization in the database. When an upload aligns perfectly with these operational parameters, capturing an audience and generating reliable revenue transitions from a variable outcome to a predictable output. Going viral is an accident of timing and mass psychology. Building a sustainable digital distribution channel is an exercise in basic systems engineering. The first systemic filter an upload encounters is historical channel weighting, commonly referred to as the trust score. The algorithm treats every prior upload as a data point in your channel's track record. A history of poor viewer satisfaction actively penalizes the starting reach of your next upload, while a history of high engagement can amplify initial distribution by a factor of 5. This historical weighting determines the size of the next major mechanic, the seed audience, and the subsequent risk of entering view jail. The system runs a test on a small, localized viewer cluster. If rejected, it terminates broader reach. A click-through rate below 2% permanently locks distribution. But with precise packaging, the agent bypasses red nodes, routing only to a specific, qualified cluster. The clarity of your thumbnail and title directly dictates which specific nodes are selected for this seed test. Vague packaging guarantees a poorly targeted seed audience. Passing this seed test triggers the third operational mechanic, the 24 to 72-hour honeymoon phase. Generating high data velocity within this tight time constraint signals deep relevance. It forces the system to continuously expand the distribution loop rather than abandon the file. Initial reach is never random. It is strictly gated by the historical trust your channel has accrued and the brutal telemetry data collected in the first 48 hours. Once initial distribution is secured, the system shifts its focus to sustained telemetry. This brings us to the fourth mechanic, view graph morphology. This visualization maps 3 growth curves. Strategists focus exclusively on these trajectory shapes. A sharp spike followed by an immediate flatline means the file failed its promise, shutting down distribution. Conversely, a steady climb over months proves deep evergreen value. Securing that steady climb requires satisfying the 5th mechanic, the 70 to 80% retention threshold. Holding 70 to 80% of an audience past the critical first minute is the algorithmic golden standard. It provides the strongest possible signal of high user satisfaction. Achieving this specific telemetry target requires rigid structural edits. Dead air and filler must be aggressively removed, and pattern interrupts like pacing changes or visual shifts must be injected every 60 to 90 seconds. This intense focus on specific viewer satisfaction naturally connects to the 6th mechanic, calculating niche size relative to revenue generation. Look at this calculation. 20,000 highly engaged viewers multiplied by an annual value of $5 per viewer equals $100,000 in revenue. The strategy here relies on extreme depth within a narrow vertical. Generalist viewership offers wide reach, but hyper-targeted audiences convert on back-end products, affiliates, and direct ads at dramatically higher rates. Systemic expansion follows a strict order. You must establish absolute dominance over one localized node cluster before attempting to build informational bridges to adjacent audience territories. An audience of 20,000 is mathematically sufficient to sustain a 6-figure media asset. The only requirement is that your attention telemetry remains flawlessly concentrated. Engineering the system is the first step. The second is maintenance. Keeping these distribution channels open requires strict operational discipline. The seventh mechanic to control is the compounding danger of operational inconsistency. The algorithm's predictive categorization matrix relies on steady data. Sporadic upload schedules or randomly shifting topical focuses scramble the engine's ability to confidently map your content to a specific viewer cohort. The data is clear. Creators maintaining strict weekly inputs grow 40% faster than those uploading randomly at erratic intervals. Finally, maintaining a clean data stream requires mastering the eighth mechanic, originality as a technical necessity. In this context, originality is not an artistic virtue. It is a strict algorithmic edge required for continued distribution. The recommendation engine actively utilizes duplicate suppression mechanisms. When it detects that a file is structurally identical to the output of an already dominant creator, it deprioritizes the new input. It already has the original. The correct input formula requires applying uniquely distinct perspectives to structurally proven topics. This evades duplicate suppression while still leveraging data frameworks known to convert. Long-term system stability relies on feeding the network steady, distinctly categorized data. Feeding it erratic or cloned inputs will inevitably result in algorithmic abandonment. This visualization maps the entire assembled architecture. When all 8 parameters run in a closed, optimized loop, the resulting distribution curve compounds efficiently. The creator middle class remains highly active. They are simply operating a quiet, highly optimized architecture, while the rest of the platform competes for accidental attention. It requires managing historical weighting, surviving initial distribution, optimizing performance telemetry, and ensuring long-term system stability. The underlying network is an entirely impartial system. It acts as a mirror, responding strictly to the exact variables it is fed. By providing the system with predictable, highly targeted inputs, the output of predictable, sustainable growth becomes a mathematical certainty. The next logical step is to audit your operational workflow. Isolate these 8 variables and identify precisely which parameter is currently causing your distribution bottleneck. Professional scale reach is entirely accessible. It simply requires abandoning the lottery of virality and replacing it with rigorous systems engineering.